Hello, welcome to Box Sport. Tonight we are going to be looking at this, the Alpha Quadrant book for Star Trek Adventures. It is interesting, it is really good. It's the most recent supplement, it's about a few weeks now, and just going to have a look at it and see whether it's worth your while buying it or not. I'm going to do a flick through and then we're going to do a wee chat. I'm going to have a chat about it and see what I think. Okay, so let's have a flick through the book and see what you get for your money. Now the first thing is, it's about the same thickness as most of the supplements have been so far. We get a map on the inside, which is quite nice, and it is of the Alpha Quadrant, not a big surprise there, but it's quite helpful, it's quite handy. Then we get, as well as the credits, which is important. We also get layouts. We get overall, it's organised into, there's a bit of an introduction, then there's a bit about the Alpha Quadrant itself, the geography and politics of the area. We get a bit of species with new life path options, we get starships and we get encounters. So let's have a look. So the introduction gives you an idea of what's in each section, which is quite helpful to get your head around the book a little bit and how to use it in the campaign. Now there is a difference in this. The default setting for every other bit of Star Trek Adventures is 2371. The year started at 2371. This one it's 2372. And in terms of Trek, that's quite important because it sets it between the full-blown Dominion War and the Klingons going a bit rogue and breaking the Khmer Accords and so basically we're looking at the point where the Cardassian Obsidian Order and the Tal Shiar have both been wiped out by the Dominion in an ambush. So it's quite cool. And this bit here, the Yesterday's Enterprise bit, as a result, is quite important because this is tied into a very specific time, and the Yesterday's Enterprise bit really helps you to kind of think about how you would use it in your campaign if you're doing other eras. So without further ado, let's flick through the Alpha Quadrant itself. There's the usual sort of stuff with briefing notes set out, which add flavour and add a bit of interest. We've got a bit about the recent history, and it sets the timeline, what's going on. The Dominion are a big feature of this. This feels like it's a bit of almost like a Deep Space Nine sort of source book. I suppose that's the the hint. Maybe the fact that Deep Space Nine's in the front of the book really helps to drop that hint. It flavours around that, and if you're a Deep Space Nine fan, you're going to have a ball with this book. We get a bit about Federation worlds. We have some of the Federation worlds. We got Beta Z, which is really interesting because, to be honest, I didn't know a lot about it, and it was always one of those. It was always one of those races that I wasn't that keen on, to be honest. Then we get a bit, then we get Denobula. We get Tellar Prime, which is really interesting. I really enjoyed that because I like Tellarites. I think they're a great faction in the game. I think that, and actually they just get fleshed out so much. Then we get Trill, and then we're into Bajor. Now the thing about these, is that these are the kind of things that you want to get your players to read if they're playing these particular races. I think they're really helpful, and pass on this information to them about how the Trill, what their culture's like, what their ideas are like, how family works. And as a GM, you can pick out some bits and go, alright, we can use that, and drop a hint. Bajor comes in, and Bajor is actually very well built out. It's very well fleshed out. There's a lot here about how it works and the complexities of it, which fits with this Deep Space Nine flavour and feel. And hey, say Deep Space Nine and here comes Cisco. But you've got that sort of, there's a lot there about how it works. And speaking of Deep Space Nine, we get a sheet on that. We get stats for it, and we get a sheet on the Bajoran wormhole. Then you can't have Deep Space Nine without mentioning the Cardassians, and the Spoonheads come in. And we get quite a lot about their culture, how they work, and particularly about what's happening in the Obsidian Order. Now, if you've watched Deep Space Nine all the way through, what you will notice is there's some bits of this you go, actually, this feels very much in a specific moment in time. As you read it, you realise there's things that haven't happened yet at the time of writing this book, and I quite like that. I find that quite, you know, they picked the right moment, I think, which is kind of cool. We get a bit about the occupation of Bajor, we get a bit about their culture, we get a bit about the Maquis. Again, really nice little hook that you could use. We get a bit about trade and diplomacy and how that works and how it's likely to work. And then a bit about science and technology and what's going on there and stuff like that. So that's quite cool. We get about different worlds, Cardassia Prime and some of the other worlds. And then we get what I think is a really fun bit, which is the Ferengi Alliance. I really like this. It sort of made me just go, actually, I really like the Ferengi. I'm going to have to bring them in more. You know, there's some really nice stuff in there about the rules of acquisition, about the trade, the culture, the planets come in a wee bit. You know, I've really enjoyed this, actually. I just thought, oh, gotta get some Ferengi into campaigns. You know, they're just really cool, you know. Tell you a bit about Ferengi Homeworld, Ferenginar, and yep, and then also I think it's Balankar. Is it Balankar? Yeah, and some of the stuff that goes on there. Then we get Sinkethi. Now, to be honest with you, Sinkethi, I didn't know a lot about, and we get a bit about them and a bit about their culture and stuff. Actually, it's really interesting. Again, another race you think, actually, people might not know them, might not be aware of them. It'd be good to bring them in. And actually, the beauty of these guys is you're not going to trample on people's toes by going off canon as a GM. So, you know, if you've got a real Trekkie, it might be quite a good one to bring in at some point. Then we get the Breen Confederacy, the ultimate xenophobes. A bit about them. The Tholians, I said ultimate xenophobes, but I think the Tholians, I mean, they're pretty xenophobic. And that takes us through. And you know, actually, the races, the cultures they picked up that are really quite cool, I thought. Species then of the Alpha Quadrant, that are new life path options. This bit, I have to admit, I sort of thought, it's okay, but I think some of it comes from the cartoon series, which I've not really watched. And a lot of them I hadn't heard of, to be honest. And I'm just being honest here, it's like, Arbazan, Arcarians, the Aurelians, then the Caitians, Edosians, Ferengi I had heard of, which is quite nice, having a Ferengi. Grazerite, nope, no idea. Katarian, I think I'd heard of. Halian, so nope, not a clue. Zaranite, not a clue. So these were ones that I hadn't heard of, whereas in the other ones, I'm sure I've seen them in an episode here or there, but they just weren't ones I was really aware of. They're not the big ones, except for the Ferengi, that people would necessarily know. Then we go into a bit about Starships of the Alpha Quadrant. Now this is interesting because some of the things, we'll pick this up, but Cardassian Starships was really welcome because we were getting to the point where it was just Galore class that you're having all the time. They brought in Hideki, they brought in Keldon, which is nice, and so having a couple extra ones, and I think, is that Keldon R? No, it's the Keldon itself, which is cool. So having a couple extra ones makes them a little bit more interesting to fight against, or to encounter. Ferengi Starships, we get an acquisition class Scout, and we get the US, so we're boosting up. I think there's a Marauder in the original book. Then we get some Breen. We get a Chelgreet. Is it Chelgreet and a Beskant? There we go. Which is, you know, interesting enough. We've got some, you know, to have a couple of ones there. Then we also get Talarian. So Talarian ships. A couple of those. Tholian. We get Spinner and Weaver, and these always strike me as some of the iconic sort of ships from the original series. And then we don't get anything about the Sinkethi, which is interesting to me because the Sinkethi, I would have thought, they were kind of missing, visible with their absence in the ship's front. We get a bit about then the different, you know, as we've had in the Beta Quadrant, we've got the encounters and adversaries. We get 3 areas to look at. demilitarized zone, Badlands and Federation border. The demilitarized zone between the Cardassians and the United Federation of Planets. There's some bits here that are quite nice, some seeds, very similar format to what we had before. Then we get some characters we might encounter, which I find actually very helpful for drawing things up. And then that's kind of it. We get Gold Cat, which is always cool. Some of these you'll have heard of, and some of these are more generic than that. Then we get the Badlands, and the Badlands is the bit between, is an area full of space along the Federation Cardassian border with spatial anomalies. We get some traits of the Badlands, so some things to factor into your story. Maquis tend to hang out here, and we've got some encounter seeds, some of which involve them, which is kind of cool. And yes, we do have a Maquis sympathizer then. Appear, we've got a Maquis Gorilla and Pilot and Saboteur. The Maquis are going to feature a lot here, and yeah, that's kind of cool. I think it's kind of, I like that. I like the fact that we've got the Maquis in the middle of it. I think they're quite cool. And then we get into, we've got a few more actually, so we get quite a few NPCs for them. Federation border, we have some encounter seeds again, and this is just anywhere on the frontier, which I thought was quite helpful. We've got some brain slavers can appear. We've got new traits for different bits, different ones that appear. So actually the Gorn and the Nausicaans get a little bit of a revamp. We get some Ferengi NPCs. We get some mercenaries and raiders and things like that, which is always quite nice. I do like having some raiders and Nausicaans and all kinds of sort of nasty people. And actually they can come, I think that there's a lot of things that you can put in there with the raiders and those kind of mercenaries into an Orion ship. You know, you could combine things. And that kind of takes us to the end of it. So then we get some Synkethi NPCs, which seems strange to me because we don't have any Synkethi characters. And we don't get any Talarians, although we have Talarian ships. And we don't. So I find that quite strange. So we've got characters for the Synkethi, but no ships, and ships for the Talarians, but no characters. Go figure. That's the only thing in the book that I'm saying, I really don't get why they did that. Oh, the back inside cover is also your Alpha Quadrant again, so that's quite handy. So you know. Right, going to do a quick review and say what I kind of think is an essential one. Is this not an essential one? What do we think of that? And yeah, keep watching. So, what do you think of the book? Well, if we compare it with the Beta Quadrant source book, I think it actually compares quite well. The only anomaly I've got in here is the bit about the Talarians, that they've got a ship but no characters, the bit about the Synkethi that they've got characters but no ship. It just seems weird to me. It would have been nice to have a complete race that you can bring in there. Having said that, the rest of the book is really, really good. I love the bit in Ferengi. I think it's very clever. It's nice to have some characters that are in there that can be quite menacing or can be quite fun, but they're explained well by the notes there, and it helps. So you can have your Ferengi character in your story, which is really nice, and whether it's as an NPC or as a player character. I like the fact that there's a lot bits and pieces that you can feed into your players if they're playing. Some of the more common characters races that are going to appear in the Betazoids, the Bajorans, the Talarians, and I can't remember the other one. But you've got a good bit of Trill. So you've got 4 more characters that you can really look at 4 more races that you can really help characters to build around and get a bit of a flavour to, and a bit more narrative involvement, and really start thinking in terms of how can I bring in maybe a beta storyline in a game as a GM for those guys, because I think that's where those culture bits kind of really useful. You could go back and visit one of the home world to do something, or to have a mission of some kind for some reason, but actually it gives you something that you can play with as a GM and inspire ideas. The encounter seeds, such as they are, there's about 9 of them, are pretty good. They'll give you some food for thought, some ideas of things you can build on. The NPCs are pretty useful. I think actually, especially the ones like the Nausicaans and the Brain and people like that, you can use them in a lot of different ways, which is really nice. Having them a key is really nice. Having some characters for them, I think that's really cool and quite useful. The real strength of the book is it's just that depth. It just adds a bit of depth to the thing. I think the idea of bringing it into 2372 was actually quite an odd one in some ways, but actually has worked really well. You know, you sit and you think, well, 2371, everything seems to be based around that. It makes it easy. Fast forward in 1 year, but it's a very significant year. And in terms of the Alpha Quadrant, that is a very important year. And I think the moment they've picked is a moment of tension, which takes the sort of the next generation era into something a bit more interesting, a bit more vibrant for players to play with. And that can only be a good thing. Having that tension of conflict and a bit of a sort of intrigue going on just helps. And actually for TNG, for the TNG area where arcs are a big thing, and I was talking about this with a friend, we were saying that, you know, the original series is very episodic. Things don't tend to have these big arcs, whereas if we look at TNG, Deep Space Nine, Voyager, arcs are a feature of them. You know, arcs feature a lot. And it's important to have that feeling in the game if you've got people who are devoted to the series. I think that's you know, they want to feel an authentic Star Trek experience, and I think that's what this does very well. It helps to do that really well. I think as a book, it's probably, I read another review where somebody said it was 4 out of 5. I think that's a good place actually for it. I think it was a fair review. Is it an absolutely essential thing? No. But what it does do very well is, for a GM, it means you're not going to be poking around the internet trying to find out all this information. It's what a GM wants. It's a lot of information in one place, easy to access with an index at the back, and things are organised in a way that saves you a lot of work. That's what a good source book does, and it does that well. I would say it's probably a 4, maybe a 4.5, somewhere around there. I would say that's a good place for it to be. Having said that, I actually preferred the beta one, which I'm surprised at saying because I'm a big fan of the Cardassians. But I liked the beta one because it was the Klingons and the Romulans, and it just felt fresh and interesting. This feels a bit like we've got a formula, we're going to stick to it. But it's a good formula and it works well, and actually you can see why they've done that, and I think it's really effective. So there you have it, folks. Would I buy it as a player? Probably not. Would I buy it as a GM? You better believe it. It's an essential bit of kit. I think you could get away without it, but it would be a lot of work. Yeah, actually that's where I would say I would land. It's essential bit of kit. Can you get away without it? Yes. Would you be how many hours is it going to take you to get the same information? A lot. So in terms of, you know, cost effectiveness of your time, I think this is great. Okay, thank you for watching. As ever, please comment below and like, share and subscribe. We do quite a lot of Star Trek Adventures stuff, along with other RPGs and tabletop miniatures games. And I would love you to subscribe and be part of our community, and comment and be an active participant. Have a great day, and thank you for watching again. Good night.